on stage in Boston, but I really should have found a way to go.
Yeah.
But I made a mistake.
Yeah.
And I was young and kind of, crazy.
Al Pacino, who is 85 years old, is more than just an actor. He is a natural force who changed the definition of what it meant to bring fire to the big screen. He has given performances so unvarnished and explosive that they have been inscribed in the annals of film history, from The Godfather to Heat. The element that viewers seldom see, though, is that Pacino has always been zealously protective of his work behind the scenes. And he didn't simply move on civilly when that commitment clashed with someone he didn't respect, appreciate, or trust. He never opened the door again after closing it. Twitter feuds and public outbursts are not Pacino's style. He doesn't do that. The stillness after he's done with you speaks volumes. No more working together. No happy reunions on the stage. The press won't get any warm sound bites, just a lasting absence that seems like a judgment. Pacino has encountered stars, legends, and up-and-comers who have shaped entire cinema eras throughout his decades in Hollywood. However, not every one of those interactions resulted in admiration. Some finished with stress so severe that it sliced right through bridges. Particularly noteworthy are 6 names. The rest of the careers of 6 performers were influenced by the consequences from their intense disagreements with Pacino. The worst part is that one of these names is still mentioned in passing in Hollywood, and filmmakers are blatantly unwilling to address the truth. This list isn't just about resentments, so stay tuned. It's about how one of the greatest living icons in film created his lines. The first person on Pacino's silent blacklist dates back to the early 1980s, when he collaborated with one of Hollywood's most renowned filmmakers. The alliance should have been a pipe dream on paper. Pacino, at the top of his game, willing to push boundaries, teamed with a talented director known for accuracy. Instead, a creative collision that neither side will ever forget took place. The director was from a disciplined school. Before the cameras rolled, every line was practiced, every camera angle was planned, and every detail was fixed. Pacino, on the other hand, loved pandemonium. He was a spontaneous, erratic actor who had the ability to completely alter a scene with a single spontaneous moment. That was magic to the fans. It was a nightmare for the man behind the camera. Almost instantly, crew members remembered the tension rising. Pacino would arrive late for sessions, delete meticulously prepared dialogue, and rely on improvisation, which caused the movie to take unexpected turns. Initially, there was patience because Pacino's intuition frequently produced brilliant results. Rehearsals quickly devolved into yelling battles, though, because patience has its limits. Behind closed doors, the filmmaker, who is renowned for seldom losing his temper, allegedly called Pacino a constant battle. What he perceived as haughtiness or disrespect for the writing did not sit well with him. In response, Pacino reacted angrily to what he perceived as oppressive authority. He had a straightforward philosophy. He was the only one who truly understood his character, and so be it if that meant arguing with the person in charge. The collaboration was irreparable by the end of filming. No future partnerships, no second chances, and no courteous reunions on award stages. Although critics would later analyze the movie, the fact that the reunion of the two was not mentioned at all said a lot. This one remained set in stone in a field where resentments tend to dissolve over time. Pacino learned from the event that he doesn't waste time attempting to rebuild trust when it is damaged on set. He leaves, and once he's gone, he won't be back. The second conflict in Pacino's career was a different filmmaker who first appeared to be a wonderful fit for his style. This director, a craftsman who valued control and perfection, was renowned for his incisive visual storytelling. However, Pacino never followed those guidelines. What started out as respect for one another swiftly devolved into a struggle for control of each scene. Pacino would abruptly change direction on set. He would deliver lines with quiet restraint on one take and then burst with volcanic energy on the next, disrupting the director's well-planned flow. It was thrilling to witness, but demanding to handle for the team. Every day seemed to be a struggle between two opposing visions: Pacino's need for raw fire and the director's pursuit of order. An attention-grabbing feud did not result from the tension. No open insults were thrown across the room, and there were no walkouts. Rather, it was a chilly sort of dispute, a gradual deterioration of confidence. Both men realized at the end of the shoot that they would never again perform this dance. The film worked because of the friction, not in spite of it. One crew member subsequently put it simply. However, after it was over, everyone knew it would be the last time. Pacino's performance received great reviews, and the final result was unquestionably strong. However, neither the director nor the actor ever brought up the other during award season. They kept quiet on purpose. When the director was asked in an interview years later if he would consider working with Pacino again, he paused, smiled pleasantly, and responded, "Probably not." That hesitation said more than any tirade ever could. Tension is the lifeblood of many Hollywood collaborations. Actors and directors quarrel, fight, and conflict, but they return for more because the outcomes are worthwhile. It was the other way around with Pacino and this director. The bridge on which their film was based was also burnt by the electricity that ran it. It served as yet another reminder to Pacino of his unwritten rule that not all outstanding performances require a follow-up. The first time isn't always the last. Al Pacino's transformation from unknown to well-known began when he was chosen to play Michael Corleone. However, that chance also brought with it the shadow of working with one of the greatest actors in history. Pacino, who was still in his early 30s, was thrown into a peculiar mixture of amazement, adoration, and animosity when he walked onto the set of The Godfather, where Marlon Brando was already a living legend. They had perfect chemistry on screen. Pacino's slow-burning fury carried Michael's metamorphosis, while Brando's subdued gravity grounded the Corleone family. It appeared to audiences to be in perfect harmony. It was anything but off-screen. Brando was notoriously erratic. He improvised entire conversation segments, forgot lines, and arrived late. He was Brando, so the studio put up with it. Pacino, however, did not have the luxury of disobeying the law. He was supposed to be modest, be prepared, and know his lines. He was plagued by the double standard, particularly when Brando received nearly all of the attention during award season. Despite carrying the majority of the picture, Pacino received only a Best Supporting nomination when the Academy awarded Brando the Best Actor Oscar. He saw it as a slap rather than as a mistake. He later acknowledged that he felt marginalized by a system that elevated Brando while downplaying his own contribution, which is why he chose to forego the event in protest. There was never any meaningful recovery in the relationship. In public interviews, Pacino maintained a professional demeanor while complimenting Brando's skill, but the affection was no longer there. In the years that followed, their names were seldom ever discussed together, and the two never got back together for another project. Brando was more than simply a co-worker to Pacino. He served as a reminder of how Hollywood might promote one guy while maintaining another in the background. It wasn't outright animosity. There were no scandalous tales or scathing quotes. Rather, it was the sort of rivalry that persisted in secret, a mixture of pride, disappointment, and subdued resistance. Pacino has no desire to be Brando's apprentice. He desired to emerge from his shadow, and after he did, he was careful not to go back into it. Al Pacino and Robert De Niro have created more expectation than any other Hollywood couples. Due to their contributions to criminal epics that shaped an age, two titans of their trade will always be connected. Their names next to one other seem to be a certain way to assure cinematic history, from The Godfather Part II to Heat to The Irishman. Despite the enchantment they produced on screen, their connection behind the camera was never as cozy as fans had hoped. Although both men had appearances in The Godfather Part II, they never truly shared a scene together, which is where the mystery started. The excitement around their first in-person meeting was enormous by the time Heat arrived in the mid-1990s. Fireworks were anticipated by the audience. They were unaware of the actual distance in the two men's energies. Pacino threw himself into circumstances with unanticipated intensity because he loved improvisation. De Niro favored thorough planning, breaking down every line and pause, until he had a blueprint for each scene. Later, director Michael Mann acknowledged that he had to manage each man independently, adjusting his style to fit his personality like a referee overseeing two hurricanes. The stars hardly socialized off-camera, according to insiders. Although they weren't antagonistic, they weren't amiable either. No lengthy chats in between takes, no dinner-time camaraderie. Two experts clocking in, producing excellence, and maintaining their distance. According to Pacino himself, "Bob is a craftsman. I'm more instinctive." It wasn't precisely a compliment, but it also wasn't an insult. Not much had changed when they got back together for The Irishman decades later. According to reports, Scorsese served as a mediator between two men who didn't want to be friends, but appreciated each other's artistic abilities. The film's promotional interviews were courteous, short, and stiff. Pacino said De Niro only a colleague. De Niro called Pacino good at what he does. The duo was famous to fans. It was all business to the men themselves. There are rivalries in Hollywood that blow up in the open. Others continue to be hidden beneath professionalism. De Niro and Pacino went with the latter. The screen was the only thing they shared, and that disconnect was intentional for Pacino. Friendship for the sake of the cameras didn't interest him. His interest was solely focused on the work. Al Pacino had established himself as a major force by the early 1980s. Casting selections could be influenced solely by his reputation. Pacino was therefore not persuaded when a woman who was unknown at the time was being considered for a significant role alongside him. According to reports, he thought she lacked the steeliness, grit, and edge necessary to match his volcanic fire on screen. Scarface was the movie. Michelle Pfeiffer was the actress in question. Director Brian De Palma pushed on bringing Pfeiffer in, despite the producer's skepticism. She knew Pacino didn't want her at the audition when she went in. She would later acknowledge that she could sense his disdain. Years later, she admitted, "I knew he wasn't on my side." But everything changed after that audition. De Palma was unable to resist Pfeiffer's icy grace and razor-sharp fragility as she played Elvira Hancock. She got the role, but not Pacino's affection. Pacino maintained a distance from her during the filming process. He never extended a warm welcome to her, provided companionship, or lowered the tension between an established celebrity and an up-and-coming actress. Off-set, there was distance, but on set, their chemistry was evident. The crew became aware of the cold. According to Pfeiffer herself, she felt the need to defend her place in the room all the time. Naturally, the irony lies in the fact that Pfeiffer gave one of her best performances ever. Her portrayal of Elvira, a seductive yet tragic figure who brilliantly counterbalanced Pacino's exaggerated Tony Montana, became iconic. Their relationship is still cited by fans as one of the movie's best features. However, respect never materialized for Pacino. The two never collaborated again after Scarface. In interviews, Pacino hardly ever brought her up, and when he did, it was with courteous distance rather than sincere admiration. Although Pfeiffer has consistently praised Pacino's skill, she has never downplayed the pressure she endured while working with him on the movie. What if scenarios abound in Hollywood, with directors nearly casting the same pairings again and stars who may have rejoined? However, this one was never given a second chance. Pacino believed that once the line was drawn, it would remain there. Additionally, Scarface served as both a breakthrough and a reminder to Pfeiffer that, despite your best efforts on screen, you may never be accepted by the man on the other side. One of Pacino's first partnerships is the source of the last name on his silent blacklist. He co-starred with another titan, Gene Hackman, in 1973. The movie was Scarecrow, a straightforward road drama that would later win accolades from critics. The combo worked on screen. However, the chemistry quickly worsened off-screen. Hackman had already made a name for himself after winning an Academy Award for The French Connection. Despite being acclaimed for The Godfather, Pacino was still establishing his career. Their acting styles couldn't have been more dissimilar. Pacino was a methodical, thoughtful filmmaker who patiently and sensitively delved into his characters. Hackman was direct, practical, and irritable about anything he thought was overthinking. Friction was the outcome. During rehearsals, the tension was evident as Pacino insisted on exploring every beat, and Hackman pushed to move scenes more quickly. They were two great actors going in opposite directions, an insider subsequently said. The set has the feel of an impending collision. According to reports, Hackman publicly expressed his annoyance at Pacino's method, calling it too leisurely and lethargic. Pacino retreated, fiercely defending his art. He didn't quarrel or yell, but it was clear that he was far away. In a subsequent interview, Pacino would thoughtfully remark, "It wasn't easy working with Gene. It was subtle yet spoke a lot. We had different ideas." After Scarecrow finished rapping, there was silence. There were no get-togethers, no efforts to revive the collaboration, and no nostalgic tales of the time spent together. It's remarkable that their paths never met again, especially because both men went on to have illustrious careers. That absence constituted a statement in and of itself, in a field that lives on nostalgia, second chances, and high-profile reunions. Hackman served as a reminder to Pacino of his boundaries. On-set respect is unavoidable. He marked the repercussions without the necessity for scandals or explosions. He just never came back. And there was no going back to the collaboration for Hackman, who eventually departed with his own legacy intact. In both men's filmographies, their film is still regarded as a masterpiece, but it also serves as a memorial to a clash of styles that were incompatible. One project, two icons, and an eternally closed curtain. Silent breakups are sometimes the loudest in Hollywood, rather than ones that are accompanied by fireworks. Al Pacino's career is a masterwork of strength, intuition, and self-control. However, his silences, the individuals he never went back to, the bridges he never rebuilt, are what really set him apart, even more so than his iconic parts. Each of the 6 identities and tales serves as a reminder that respect is crucial in Pacino's society. The door permanently closes when it breaks. That is finality rather than drama. Which of these consequences caught you off guard? To see more untold stories from behind the spotlight, leave a comment, click like, and subscribe.